Yes.
You want to use the mic?
I am old school. I mean, I learned to try to fill the room. But in any event, this is probably this better. Thank you. So we'll begin with Lucas Cook from Indiana University, esports. Thank you.
All right. So welcome. My name is Lucas Cook. I am a fourth-year PhD student in informatics at Indiana University, specifically in computing, culture, and society. And my research is about esports, specifically casters and commentators of esports. So the first question I often find I need to address is, what is esports? That didn't have sound. That was going to say digital sports, but didn't quite work out that way. But esports are online competitive video games. They're usually team-based, but not all the time, but they are always played online and they are always competitive games. So why does anyone care about esports? Well, esports is a growth industry. It is multi-million, going up into the billions of dollars of market share. It is hugely profitable. They reach a large number of players. One of the games I play has regularly 300,000, 400,000 unique players per day, and close to 1 million unique players per month. So it has a really wide reach. And frankly, I like playing them. So I'm going to research what I enjoy doing, right? So just to give you an idea of the scale of things, this was the most recent Dota 2 International Tournament prize pool. The final prize pool total was $24 million. This was, except for $3 million, crowdfunded from the player base of Dota. People would buy in-game cosmetics, and a certain percentage of that would go into the prize pool. And the first place team took home $10.8 million for a team of 5 players. So we are talking big money is being exchanged in these games, and this is one tournament from one game. So, okay, now I'm talking about casters. What the hell is casting? Casting is the act of talking over a game to both educate and inform and entertain the audience. Usually it's broken up into 2 types of casting, play-by-play, which is just what it sounds like. They are giving you the blow-by-blow, moment-by-moment, what is happening. If you turn on Monday Night Football and you hear John Madden telling you that the Patriots are taking the snap at the 30-yard line and dropping back for a pass, he's doing play-by-play commentary. If, on the other hand, there is color commentary, which is sort of giving you the reasons why things are happening. So, the Patriots always run a passing play at 3rd and long. That's why they ran a passing play there. The same thing happens in esports. You've got your play-by-play and your color commentators. Also, casters usually do a lot of roles in addition to just talking that I discovered over the course of this study. So, to further expand on casting, why do I care about casters? Casters and commentators have been found to have the greatest impact on audience enjoyment of esports and of traditional sports. People will watch tournaments specifically because they know that their favorite caster, Odie Pixel, is talking. That guy. They will prefer certain tournaments over others for their casting talent. Which then led me to a bunch of questions that hadn't been answered in this space. What are casters doing when they cast? What practices do they employ? And can we possibly influence game design to help improve the practice of casting? If they have such an impact on audience enjoyment and engagement, can we help them do their job better? So for our methods, we conducted an ethnographic study on esports casting and commentary. We did 22 interviews of casters, 10 from a game called Dota 2, 10 from a game Rocket League, 2 from League of Legends because they got confused and sent to us by mistake, but I wasn't saying no to more data. Myself and my co-author Stephen, we casted ourselves over 25 hours of Rocket League and Dota 2 games, both amateur, and I did get to cast 1 professional level game, which was very exciting for me. We watched a lot of casting. I can't even quantify it because how much was I watching for research and how much was I watching because I wanted to watch it because I'm a fan. We then transcribed the interviews and took all of our data and analyzed it through grounded coding from the bottom up. Just a little bit of background. These are the two games, the posters of the two games that I'm talking about, Dota 2 and Rocket League. For those who don't know, Dota 2 is a 5 versus 5 team-based game where you're trying to defend your base and destroy the enemy's base. There are over 100 heroes. Each hero has at least 4 different abilities. So there's a lot of complexity, and they were recently throwing out a stat on one of the tournaments that in all of professional Dota, the exact same 5 versus 5 team lineup, the same 10 heroes have been played a total of 24 times. With the exact same lineup on both sides, has only happened 24 times in about 10 years. Games can last from about 20 to 60 minutes to far, far, far too long. An hour and 40 minutes is my personal record, and it was just awful. On the other hand, we have the exact opposite end of the spectrum. We've got Rocket League. It's usually a 2 versus 2 or a 3 versus 3 game. It is literally soccer with cars, with rockets strapped on them. Giant ball, rolling around, you've got your car, you're rocketing around trying to hit the ball into the goal. Very simple game. Games are 5 minutes with the possibility of overtime if the score is tied. And there are different cars in Rocket League, but they have very minimal impact on gameplay. So we've got 2 very different cases of esports. And we have a quick example here of myself and a friend of mine.
Comes back.
Looks like he wasn't quite able to get that off. The shrine does get popped, and this Tiny is looking and is now revealed because it runs out and goes down. I think he was getting a little aggressive there, hoping to just get a kill on someone who wasn't expecting him to be there, but you know, he gets punished for it.
And that's some great space for the Medusa now in the top lane, farming the jungle, farming the wave.
So the important part of that is, it doesn't matter if you know what was going on. The 2 casters were filling different roles. I was giving the play-by-play analysis of what was happening. The one character, Tiny, the little guy made of stone, was trying to catch somebody off guard, and he ends up getting punished for it. Well, then Chris was coming in and saying, yes, while all of this was happening, something else was happening on the other end of the map that's important for you to know, because this character, Medusa, got some chance to be alone and get this free farm and get more powerful. So we had the 2 casters fulfilling 2 very different roles at the same time. So the findings from our study, and I did not take the purple cue from Northwestern, I just like purple. So the first thing that really surprised me was that casters do a lot of jobs. When I went into this study, I'm like, casters do 2 things. They talk over games and they run their streams on Twitch TV. I was wrong. Casters do all of these things and more. It goes off the slide for a reason. You know, they do the things that I expect. They also do camera work. They research teams beforehand. They research current trends in the game. They troubleshoot technology. They reflect on their practice. They watch other casters to help each other improve and give advice. Some of them jump into tournament administration, like just setting up lobbies and helping the teams to actually, you know, start the games properly. They organize themselves and other casters to make sure that games in a specific league all have coverage. They're all being cast, and you know, one game doesn't have 6 people trying to cast it, and one game has none. They interact with their Twitch.tv chat, and they do more and more and more things that I'm still discovering as we go on. But one of the most interesting things was I asked all 22 of the casters, how do I get started casting? I'm interested in casting myself. How do I go about starting? They go, just do it. Like literally, just start casting. It's going to be awful. It's going to be terrible the first time you do it, but just get in there, start doing it, and you know, get some exposure. One of the participants said that he wanted to set up a place for new casters to get that exposure, but that place doesn't exist right now, and it's a little limited. Casters in general prefer co-casting. A lot of casters start out, when you're first starting, you cast on your own. It's just you and the audience, and however long this game is going to take, and you've just got to talk. They prefer co-casting, where you know, one person can get very excited about something in the moment, and the other caster will jump in afterwards and start explaining why that's important. Why was that moment a big turning point in this game? But it's not perfect. One in particular said they remembered co-casting with someone, just didn't know what he was doing. It was such a pain. But in general, they prefer working with another caster for their events. And I don't want to understate this, but I think casters, one of the most important things they do is they are telling a story to their audience. They are taking this game that is happening in front of them. As they're watching it, they are crafting a story. The play-by-play is giving you the actual actions of what's happening, and the color commentator is filling in the details. Why did it matter that Tiny died? Why does it matter that Medusa gets some free farm? And one of them described it as, play-by-play draws the picture and color fills in the shading and the color. It's like they chose these names for themselves for a reason. And then even after a game is over in a tournament setting, they will continue telling the story. This is an image from the International 7 after one of the biggest North American team just got eliminated in a huge upset. So the casters after the game, they had a camera follow this team and just watch like how dejected they were. And that was part of the story. It wasn't in the game, but it was part of the story that these casters were telling about what was going on. And in addition to just starting and telling a story, casters teach themselves this craft. There is no course that you can go take to be an esports caster. I can't walk down to Northwestern and take a course in esports casting. At IU, I could take a course in sports broadcasting, like football or basketball commentary, but that's not quite the same thing. And they teach themselves, and they call it, they grind. They grind out practice. The one participant I had who had done the casting professionally full time, she said her big break came from she casted one tournament on her own for 15 hours with no breaks, no nothing. It was her and the audience and the games for 15 hours. And then these casters do want more people to get into the scene, and their advice for casters coming in is, look, your casts aren't going to be perfect. Even the professional was like, my casts aren't perfect. But you've got to keep, don't be afraid of going out there and messing it up and calling a hero by the wrong name or calling a spell by the wrong name. I still do it all the time. So it's a very supportive community among the casters, but that's not always true outside of this casting community. Which brings me into these ethical concerns. So I talked to 22 casters. One had worked full-time professionally. About 3 had gotten paid for their work at any point. When they got paid roughly $15 or $37 for what was a best of 3 match, so it was possibly 3 games, going up to an hour plus each game. It didn't matter how long the games went, it didn't matter if there were 2 or 3 games, they got $15 or $37. They only got their, for the games played, they didn't get paid for the research that went into it beforehand. They don't get paid for any of their equipment or their setup. A lot of these people are casting from their own homes with their own equipment. So they're getting paid very little, if they're getting paid at all. I've done a lot of casting on my own. I have not gotten paid. I've been casting for amateur leagues, but even the professional game I played for was not paid for my work and the effort I invested. Gender is another issue that came up. I interviewed 22 people. There were 2 people who identified themselves as female. One of them very pointedly did not discuss gender issues because she gave me the impression that she did not want to be labeled as someone who would complain about gender issues because that would impact her ability to get jobs. The other one was very concerned about staying anonymous so that she could tell me what it was like as a female in an esports arena. So this is an understudied area, and it's hard to find participants. And then finally, a lot of people know that there's a big issue with toxicity in games, and this is an area of my further work that I am looking into going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.